Welcome to another episode of Make It Sunday. It's Sarah from Funky Fossil here. I'm back with my weekly dose of inspiration. I can't remember how many weeks we've been doing this now for, but it's certainly maybe 14 weeks or 15. I'm losing count. So this week we're into December and I wanted to use some of our more recently released products, but to make a wintry journal page. And that's what I'm going to try and do today. I'm not entirely sure how all of these products will come into play, but certainly the three that I've got on the table in front of me will be our Sunday Makers bundle this week. So we've got our Hidden Beauty, the fabulous ferns. I don't have masses of these left, but they're just absolutely gorgeous, so I couldn't resist the temptation to use them on a journal page. We've got our fabulous Badger Trails by Dello Designs. And I'm thinking at this point I'm probably more likely to use the foliage on this stamp set, but I'll certainly be using it on the layout. And we've got one of our older stencils here. It's called, I think it's called Snow Flurry. So fabulous snowflakes, because that's going to add to the wintry vibe. Now I've got lots of things, lots of kind of different mediums on the desk as well with me. And I'm thinking I'm going to do a bit of a sprayed background. So I've got a variety of what I think are kind of nice chilly, cool tones that will work well for the layout I have in mind. We've got Frosted Juniper, which is one of the Distress Mica stains, some Speckled Egg, which is a Distress Oxide, add a bit of sparkle with my Lindy's, which is the Frozen Jack Frost. Oops. And I might use a little bit of this blue by Seth Apter for Eyes Ink. It's Sea Spray. I'll just see how strong that colour is when I spray it out. I'm also thinking of dropping a little bit of one of the flat magicals from Lindy's in, which is this one's Plumeria Pink, because I'm thinking I'd like to add some slightly kind of cool pinks into this to give that real feel of a frosty day. So I've got some blues in my inks, I've got some of my fabulous Starlight paste, which I'm thinking of using with my snowflake stencil. Let's just see how it all comes together. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to take some kind of steps here in the video where I can just speed things through a little bit rather than having you kind of having me talk you through every element of the process, but we'll see how we get on. And I'm just getting some pieces of card here, just some really kind of cheap cardstock, just to put behind my journal pages. This is one of our wonderful A5 spiral bound journals, because I'm going to spray directly into it, and obviously the journal has these kind of holes down the spine. I've not found that I get a huge amount of kind of leakage between the pages in the journal, but also in terms of overspray, I'm just adding that extra layer to catch the spray as I put it down. So I normally faff around quite a lot when it comes to using my spraying. So I haven't even got the lids with these, so just have to be careful when I'm shaking them up. Just use a bit of so I like to kind of go back in and out and mess around a little bit. So when we get to the point of me using the sprays, I will probably, I'm just going to activate each of them here, kind of off camera, just giving them a shake with the mica stain. Obviously you want to activate that mica at the bottom of the container, and same with the Lindy's. You can see there all that kind of lovely micas just settle to the bottom and just bring it all back up to life. So what I will do is I start spraying and having a bit of a mess to get the kind of the background look that I want. I will stop talking so that we can speed this up, or you can just watch the process without me talking about every step I take. Hopefully it'll be fairly self-explanatory on how I'm kind of using the sprays and what I'm doing next. So let's get to spraying, my favourite bit, the messy bit. Know that I've got no other layers yet on my journal page, so this is the point where I can just get colour down and feel quite relaxed, because I'll be working on top of this. So it doesn't need to be perfection, it just needs to give me that first layer of colour to help me take the next step on my journal. So let's get going. So I've let the background dry with all those fabulous sprays on. You can see how much I piled onto that paper, and it's all dried absolutely flat, lovely, and I'm quite impressed with how little bleed through there is as well. So I'm not worrying about kind of spoiling the rest of my journal by spraying quite so generously on my pages. And I don't know if you can pick that up, they've got a gorgeous shimmer to them where those the mica powders are showing through. So it's given me that great kind of base coat for my journal page. And as you can see, I've already started stamping some snowflakes on. I'm using one of our older stamp sets. I'm not even sure what it's called now. Is it Snowflake Kisses? Anyway, it's out of stock, so I don't know why I'm telling you that. But obviously any snowflakes you have in your stash will work just as well. And I'm stamping just randomly on the background with some VersaFine Clair, which is the barley blue. I was trying to work out a colour that would coordinate nicely with my background but not get lost. I don't want anything too strong, but I didn't want it to get lost either. You can see how I've got my stamp right up against the edge of this acrylic block, just to give me a bit more ability to kind of stamp close to the spine. Obviously with a spiral bound journal like this, you don't want to kind of have to be knocking your acrylic block against the middle of the book. This isn't about getting kind of perfect stamping, this is another layer on the page which to some extent will get covered by some more stenciling and some of the Starlight paste that we want to put on there. And of course with the journal, depending on what you've already got in your book, you'll already have kind of potentially uneven surfaces. So again, don't worry too much about trying to get anything completely perfect, because you're already kind of working with an uneven surface. So I'm just wanting to add to our wintry vibe, and I'm just going to do one more, I think. No, two more, I reckon. Put one on this page as well. And depending on where on the page I'm stamping and the intensity of the colour, some of the snowflakes will be more visible than others. And that is totally fine too. So just a bit of stamped interest in the background, very subtle. It's not intended to really be that dominant. And what I want to do now, because we've got these pink elements that we added with the Lindy's, is I want to add a little bit more pink to my page, kind of give it that soft frosty look. And I'm going to use our code stencil, the one with all the numbers on, and I'm going to use some acrylic paint. So I'm using my Cadence, which is a hybrid acrylic, and this one is a faded pink. I'm just going to apply a bit with a cosmetic sponge. And when you're building your journal pages, you can do all these steps, or leave some of them out, or stop when you're happy with the background that you've got. So this is just about having a play. You can see I've already used this pink on this stencil already. So I'm not going to use the whole stencil. This is, again, some abstract detail. And it doesn't matter whether the numbers are particularly legible. I'm just dabbing my cosmetic sponge into the paint, dabbing it off on my mat, just so I don't feel like I've got too much on there. Just letting it fade out as well. I don't want too kind of harsh a line. See what we get there. You see what I mean? It just looks like it's kind of fading into the background. I quite like to start or do something in the corners of the journal page, because I think it's all about framing the page, framing the layout. You see I'm not being particularly careful. I think numbers are a great way of adding kind of an abstract background texture to your page without feeling it's got to be perfect or even particularly legible. Let's put, I quite like the two corners there. Should I put one? Maybe let's have one of the bigger numbers, like 13. Put it towards the centre here. Maybe this is a nice one, 6, 7, 8. Run out of paint. Let's put a bit more. This is Cadence paint. It's got quite a nice body to it. It's not too fluid. So if I'm using a more fluid paint, a bit like maybe some of the Dilutions, it's a bit more fluid. It's quite nice to pick that up on a blending foam, you know, that I used to use for ink, because you can move that across your stencil quite quickly, and it doesn't go underneath. But because this is quite a heavy body paint, it's not as likely to bleed underneath the stencil. So I'll leave that there, so you can see by just putting a bit of that stenciling here and here, you're just kind of connecting these two pages a little bit more. Now I'm going to add some ferns, some of our fabulous large fern stamps at the bottom. I'm conscious I want to add my stenciling with my Starlight paste over the top, but I'll get this stamping on first, because of course if the stencil comes down too far, it will be harder to well, you won't be able to stamp over the texture that the paste leaves. And as I do this stamping, I think I'm going to speed this up again, because it will take me a little while to get the various images onto my page. Just trying to find acrylic blocks that will take these ferns for me, because I'm thinking I'm going to stamp in a variety of diversifying blues, so to give me some kind of lighter and darker images. And this fern set has got lots of fantastic kind of quite stylised thin ferns, and also the kind of more traditional larger ferns. So I think I'm going to start with the thinner ones, and we can have some of the larger ones in the foreground. But because I'm going to have to mess around a little bit with my acrylic blocks, then I will just let you watch me do this part of the layout, and we will speed it up so you will get the gist and not have to watch me do it in real time. So let's get going. Okay, so the page is coming together now. Since I stopped recording after doing my stamping, I have used the Starlight paste through the Snow Flurry stencil just to give you some extra sparkle and dimension. Hopefully it's picking it up on camera. So I thought I'd do that because obviously it needed a bit of drying time, and then we can do our finishing steps to this journal layout. And I'm loving these kind of soft blues and pinks. I don't normally use a colour combination like this. So what I want to do now is put some of those fabulous leaves at the bottom of my layout. So I'm thinking about kind of, you know, those kind of crunchy leaves on a frosty morning, and the ferns are kind of obviously growing out from that kind of frosty path. So I've done, as you can see already, some masking and colouring. I've just used my Distress Oxides, Seedless Preserve, Evergreen Bough, some Salvage Patina, some Chipped Sapphire, I believe. And I've used the wonderful stamps from the leaves from the Badger Trails. I'm just going to show you very, very quickly. Here you go. These kind of two leaves that come with the Badger A5 stamp set. I'm just going to show you very quickly how obviously I mask the leaves to create this layered look, and then I won't kind of take time to colour it in on camera because I've done that ahead of time, and you don't need to see me do that necessarily. Just wanted to show you that when you've got this kind of layout, and particularly if your stamping isn't necessarily as perfect as you like towards the bottom because your layout's already chunky and got got uneven kind of levels to it, then you can kind of stamp out and create your own embellishments to add further layers to the page. So I've got my stamps here. What I've done already is stamped and cut out some masks. So I use Clarity masking kind of sheets because they have a good level of resistance to ink. The ink doesn't bleed through when you stamp over the top of them. So I stamped each leaf twice, so I've got two of each leaf as a mask. And then all I do, and I'm sure you are very familiar with masking stamps and the kind of layered effect that can give you. So I'm just using my blue Versafine and just trying to remember which which leaf is which on the masks. Just literally, doesn't need to be absolutely perfect for this kind of design, particularly given these leaves are so detailed, so they're quite forgiving in relation to the kind of lines and where one image starts and the other finishes. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to use it for this layout, because to me it kind of looks almost a bit like that kind of, you know, when leaves are really kind of frozen in the frost and they get all those kind of lines coming through from the kind of the frost and the ice. I thought it had a bit of a look of that about it. So I have literally taken the other leaf stamp, I'm stamping it over the top of the masked off leaf. Harder to say than it sounds. And then of course when you lift your mask off, then one is in front of the other. Simple as that. And you can carry on and keep going and create these, either a wreath if you wanted to, or as you can see here, I've just repeat stamped, so I've got a bit of a corner element going on. Really easy to do, but quite a nice effective way of adding depth to your stamping. So we have done that step already. We have coloured and cut out our leafy elements, and they're going to go towards the bottom of the page. I will position them so they're hanging over the page, and then I will trim the overhang off, because I don't want to lose those fabulous ferns that we've already put at the base. So I just want enough there to give the effect of there being leaves strewn across the bottom of the page. But that one could go that way a bit better. I think that one works better like that. Then words, because of course we've got this lovely page. I think we've got quite a lot of open-ish space towards the top of the journal. Even though it's got lots of layers and a lovely texture, it's still lacking something. So I'm going to use one of the fabulous Tim Holtz, the kind of the wood chip, I don't know what, the chipboard sentiments. They come in packs. They're quite chunky. Now what I've done here, just to make this sentiment blend better with my layout, it comes like this. For example, is I've used some distress crayons to colour the sentiments, so it complements my design, and it's really easy to do. These kind of sentiment strips seem to have a bit of a kind of a coating on them, so it means that the crayons just glide nicely over the top and can be blended in. So all I did was had a play with a couple of colours, very much mirroring the colours that I've already used on the background of my page, and then just used my finger to spread them out and give them a blend. You spend as long as you want to doing that. Going around the edge with dark on, I think this is chipped sapphire, and you can just go around the edge, catching the edge with the crayon, and then give it nice definition. So can you see how quickly and easily you can tint that and give it a colour that's going to coordinate with your design? Now what I will do, off camera when I'm just putting these final bits, sticking them all down, is I will probably take some dimension off this, because I probably don't want something quite that chunky in my journal. So it's easy enough to peel a couple of the layers of the chipboard away from the front, and still have a nice sturdy, you can see how it breaks apart there, still have a nice sturdy title. Look at that, just peels away nicely, still giving you something with dimension. I might cut these words into 3 so I can move them across the page more easily, so you'll see that in the final image of the design. And the only last thing I will do to complete this is probably go back to my acrylic paint, back to the Cadence faded pink, and dilute it and add some splatters just to pull that pink from the background back forward. But that will be how the final layout finishes. So I will come back with that all adhered down and completed, but I just wanted to talk you through those final steps to add those embellishments and sentiment to our page. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you inspired to try something with a slightly different colour combination than maybe you would typically do. Be inspired by the seasons. It's been cold and chilly here in the UK the last couple of weeks, so I wanted to do something frosty that reflected that. But I wanted to play with layers and try stenciling, sprays, stamping, all on the same layout, and see how it came together. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please, if you don't already, could subscribe to my channel, that'd be awesome. Like this video, and I shall be back again next Sunday with another episode of Make It Sunday. I shall see you then. Bye.